Okay, hello you guys. This is Stephanie and Willie for another episode of Coach Talk. And today we want to talk about building change through our habits, because a lot of times people want change, but they don't understand the correlation between achieving that change and how their habits play an important role in that. And so Willie is gonna, talk to us. We'll start the conversation because he's very passionate about this topic. And so I'm really interested in what he has to say about building change through our habits. So take it away, Willie.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously we talk off camera before we come on here, but like I was saying, when I thought about change and wanting to change, even on my journey of personal development and transformation, it was like we start off and we start to do something, and then we either stop or something happens, right? And so it's like, what am I doing wrong? Because consciously we're trying to figure it out, but it's the subconscious things that we're doing that we sometimes don't even realize, right? Those are the things that are basically habits, right? Whatever it is, when you get up in the morning, all the way to throughout your day, it's the subconscious things that we're doing that we need to focus on. And so for me, one of those first things was, which is the hardest thing, is to kind of look at yourself, right? Kind of look at yourself and say, all right, look, everything that I have done in the past in my life has gotten me to this point. And the bulk of those are basically habits, right? They're things that we've done on a day in, day out basis that just kind of dictate how we kind of go along our day. And then we sprinkle in, those decisions or things like that, but they're all kind of built off of those habits. Right. And to understand that it's not about good or bad. I mean, obviously you look on the shell and you go, okay, well, that's a bad habit or that's a good habit, but it's really only if the habit is effective or not. So if I'm trying to write a book, right, and I never start writing, and I'm, just talking about, so what am I doing to build a habit to help me reach that goal of writing a book? So for me, it was a serious, self-reflection, really looking at, and not not looking in a judgmental way, because that doesn't do any good to, that just brings on guilt and shame and criticizing ourselves. Because I think we naturally have a habit of doing that. People just naturally want to be really critical of themselves. And so what that does is that keeps them from wanting to change, because they're like, you can't do this. You always mess it up. You always do this. If someone's struggling with finances, you're always blowing your money, spending your money, so then they don't even want to try that. But you have to push past that, right? So you want to start off by saying, okay, let me just list out everything, right? Everything I do from the time I get up through the end of my day, and do that for a week, right? I remember writing that out, writing what I do, kind of by the hour. So here's my first morning, I get up my hour. What is it? What am I doing? Am I grabbing my phone? Am I praying? What am I doing the moment I wake up? Am I making my bed? What's happening? And tracking that and going back and looking. And then we want to kind of rank those things. Are these good things? Are these bad things? Are these things basically getting me to where I want to go, right? So it starts off with understanding that I have to find out what my awareness is of what I'm doing, right? We can't just say, everybody say, I want to change, I want to do better, and just start off on doing that. That's not going to work, because your habits, those subconscious things that you're doing, are going to pull you right back in. So because the minute we get in a position of where we don't know what to do, we find something that's comfortable, right? People go, I don't know what to do here, so I'm just going to go out and go give me something to eat, go have a snack.
Right.
I'm going to just walk away from what I'm trying to do, right?
Well, I only watch the TV for 30 minutes, and then I'll get back to what I'm doing.
Right. I sit down and I'm supposed to be writing something, thinking of something to write. And I'm just like, I'm gonna go check my Facebook real quick.
Yeah, right. Look, that's a bad one right now. Yeah.
Right. But you see, so what happens is we're looking for comfort, right? We're trying to, if we don't feel that, then we go, I'm just going to scrap it and do something else. So by being aware of what we're doing, then we're able to change it. And it might not look well. I remember writing down, and, I was wanting to do all this stuff. I wanted to do better and be better, you know, help people. And I was like, but I'm not even doing good myself, right? I'm not getting up on time, you know, was supposed to be exercising. I found something else to do, was supposed to be going to bed on time, stay up late watching Netflix, right? So you're like, what am I doing here? So that's hard to break those things. But once you write them out and then you see them, then it's kind of like right in your face.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
and it's like, you know, how can I change it? Because, you know, it's saying like you'll never change until you change something that you do every day. Right. So for me, it started off scrapping everything and going, okay, controlling my time for the moment I got up, those first 3 hours, I call it like the first 3 hours of power hours, right? Because those first 3 hours kind of set the tone for me for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And taking those things that saying, okay, is this going to be effective? Yes or no? It wasn't even really bad or good. It was like, is this effective?
Right.
So I'm trying to be the best version of me. What do I have to do to do that? Right. What do I have to do to be the best version of me? So is that, you know, is that getting up at, you know, 4:30 in the morning? Is that, you know, reading my Bible? Is that praying? Is that just thinking? Right. For me, those are all things where like, I don't even like my phone stays plugged in, whatever it's doing. I don't even touch it. I get up, I walk out, leave the phone. I go in. First thing I do is get some water. I pray, and it's quiet because no one's up.
Yeah.
For me, that's my space, so I can spend time with God and just kind of get my mind there. I think what happens a lot of times, we don't spend enough time just thinking.
Yes.
Right? Just thinking like on our own. The phone and all that stuff is just stimulation for what we think about. It's directing our thoughts. It's like,
exactly.
On Facebook, someone says something, and you like, oh, so you start looking at this. Don't even get me started on the TikTok. So that thing right there, I got work. There's something on that TikTok that get people. My daughter, they get stuck for hours.
Wow.
Said, don't go down that rabbit hole. Leave that rabbit hole alone.
Right.
So for me, I don't even touch that stuff in the morning. I don't even touch this stuff. So I pray, and then I read, and then I start writing, you know, some content, whatever kind of just is on my mind. And the biggest change maker for me was journaling. Right? Was journaling. So now I'm able to track my habits, because the habits, those things that we change and do daily, are not only going to help us in who we're trying to become, but they have to match what we're trying to become. You know, like I have to make sure those habits, and I call them the kind of habits stacking, they have to
be building up to something.
Like you know, you wrote a book, so I'm sure you can speak on that. There were certain things you couldn't write a book and work on it once every 3 months.
Right? Yeah, I'm kind of going through that right now. But I mean, I think, like, I want to go back a little bit, because I think you made some really good important points that I feel like it's worth kind of expounding upon, which is like, a lot of people, and I have done this myself, we make, especially today in today's time, because we have so many distractions, like people are basically walking around with computers in their pockets and access to entertainment, news, like, you know, back in the day, it was, once you left the house, there was no phone until you found a pay phone. You went to somebody else's house. And so we have so many distractions now, and it's very easy for people to think and actually think they don't have time. I don't have time to do that. I don't have time. And so you think that you have these goals and you have these plans, but you feel like you don't actually have time to really invest in them. It's one thing that I wanted to kind of pull out from what you were saying, and what it sounds like you're saying is like, actually you do have time. It's just a matter of what you're using your time for. And so you have to kind of prioritize your time. And I can relate to that as a mother of 5, okay, because the kids keep me busy, and when I add their stuff and house stuff and my stuff, I'm very easily overwhelmed. And so even for me, it will be very easy for me to say, you know, I really just don't, like for my book, I don't have time. I have 5 kids, you know, blah, blah, blah. But when you sit down and you actually kind of go through, like what you were saying, you write down what you're doing, you kind of start to prioritize. Okay, do I absolutely need to be doing this? No, you take it off your schedule. And I had to do that a lot, because like I was like obsessed with like making sure there were no dishes in the sink before I went to bed. Sometimes it was like, do you actually have to make sure that there's no dishes in the sink? You know, it's okay if there's a cup. So it's like prioritizing and understanding
100%.
what is important and what is working for me, what is not. You know, yes, I made a commitment to do these 3 things at church, but do I really need to be doing that? Like, you really have to kind of prioritize your time. And I always say, you know, I've actually put a post up in my Facebook page a few weeks ago about, you know, the scripture that says, I can do all things through Christ.
Right.
And people think that, and they take on all this stuff and they say, I can do all things with Christ, but that's not what that means. That doesn't mean take on a bunch of stuff that God never told you to do. And now you're saying, God, give me strength to do all this unnecessary stuff, you know? So it's like, you know, you have strength through Christ to do the things that God has put you here to do. So if
Yes.
God put you here to do something, and it's going to be difficult. God doesn't give any of us easy things to do. He's basically wants you to have confidence in the fact that I know this is difficult, but I can give you the strength to do this. I didn't give it to you for you to struggle with it. But I said that to say, and you know, we have to really prioritize our time and understand what's important and what's not important, and stop taking on, and I can say this especially for women because we do this a lot, taking on a bunch of unnecessary stuff and then saying, well, I don't have time for this or my goals and things like that. So I just thought that was something I wanted to pull out of what you were saying. Yeah.
No, you're 100% right. In the prioritizing, like I said, I remember looking at writing down and going back and, you know, like do it for a week or so, depending on how many different things come your way, like if you're working, whatever you have going on. And yeah, you would be amazed. And I'm talking, don't be cutting out that Netflix time. Don't be like, oh, I was watching TV. No, don't be watching TV. You was watching Netflix. Binge watching is the worst. Yeah. So when you go back and you look at that, then you can't, then how do you say, you know, what is it, 168 hours in a week? How do you say, I don't have time? So, yeah. Okay. And we have, you know, don't get me wrong, we have jobs. So that's when people say, well, I got to go to work. Okay. I give you that one. Let's just give you 10 hours. Right. You really working. I work with a lot of people and I ain't never seen 10 hours straight work. So them people too, I want to see what you're doing for 10 hours. You write. I had a boss that he said, I would say I was too busy. So you know what he did? He said, okay, I'll tell you what, you write down and you email me every hour what you did. Right. And I said, no, I don't want to do that. So, because when you start to do that, what was you doing? I was checking the break. I went and got some water, walking around. So after you remove those 10 hours, okay, what about the other, 14 hours? What are you doing with those? Exactly. So that's where I said, okay, well then how am I going to pull all this in? And I tell people this all the time. I had someone that said, hey, I don't have time. I said, okay, well, you write down what you're doing. And then when we get on another call, I want you to read to me what you're doing. Exactly. Reading what you're doing. Check my Facebook, right. Check my Instagram. Yeah. Read some posts. And so then they realized like an hour later, because they were supposed to be doing homework, because they said they were struggling with his schoolwork. I'm like, so I said, you already answered your question right there. There's your problem, but it's being aware of that instead of just trying to do other things to compensate for it, right? You can't just do things to compensate for a habit that's not effective. Exactly. Right? You got to scratch that habit out. You got to put yourself in a position where that habit's not even desirable, right? That habit's not even desirable anymore. It's like, I'm not even putting myself in that situation. Like for me, it was getting up early, and the hardest part of that was going to bed early. Okay. Right? Because it feel like we're gonna miss something. My wife always tells me, you going to bed? Yeah, I'm going to bed. Don't get me into, I'm trying to do something. People always want to put you into doing something, but I'm like, no, all that stuff on TV, DVR, we could watch that anytime. Exactly. Right. So it's like putting that priority in, because now when I get up, I have my time with God. I want to pray. I want to get my mindset, and it's not always doing more. Sometimes it's actually doing less, but just being effective. Exactly. Right? And speaking of taking on, like I see my wife, I just had this conversation with her yesterday. She, at home with the kids and doing the schooling at home. And so it's a lot of like stress in that arena. And so I said, this is the one time where you have to become a little selfish with your time,
Mm.
right? Because it's the same thing. Oh, I'm tired, I don't have time. Said, okay, so you're going to have to be a little more selfish with your time, because moms take on. I saw my mom do it for years.
Yeah.
She helping her sister, she helping her nephews and her nieces and buying this. I got to take them to the store, and I go, why? You know, I got to help them. They need help. So we taking on all this, but where's your selfishness? I said, you know, I call it the, what do you call it on the airplane, the oxygen mask thing. They say, you got to get your oxygen first. You giving out all your oxygen, and you ain't doing none. So what can happen? I tell you break down, these kids is in trouble.
Right. Right. Look, my kids are like, Mama, please don't get sick. We don't want to be here with Daddy.
No, they do not want Daddy to help, but they do not want Daddy. Daddy is not like drill sergeant. Daddy is not.
Right, exactly.
We're going to be reading. We're going to write goals. We're going to start a business.
Right.
So, you know, so it's like prioritizing that time and getting up. You know, when someone tells me on time, the first thing I say is, what time are you getting up?
Yeah.
Because we could kill a whole lot right there. You getting up at 9:30, you probably not going to make it. I'm getting up at 9:30, 10. 9:30, 10, it's almost lunchtime.
Right.
You know, you don't have to get up at 4, but let's just try 7. If you have to go to work, okay, because they say I get up, I got to go to work. Okay, if you got to be to work at, say, 9 o'clock, then maybe you get up at 6:30. Maybe get up at 6. And the longer you start doing it, I remember reading a study of how productive a person was when they got up like 2-3 hours earlier. So much can get done.
Yeah.
And then so it's self-awareness, knowing what you're doing and what's effective and what's not effective, on where you're trying to go, whatever your goal is. If it's not, if you don't look at it and go, oh yeah, that's going to help me,
right,
scrap it.
Right.
And then you need to hold yourself accountable. And for me, that was at the end of the day was journaling. Because we start off like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, but sometimes you get to the end of the day and you go, man, I still did that. You know, I still did the same. I still was on Facebook. And, I have my daughter, on Apple, on the iPhone, they have us every Sunday it come out a screen time. So that's another area. It says, so you want to know why you don't have time? People say, oh, I don't have time. I say, well, when Apple drop out that screen reconciliation, pull that up. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It breaks down your screen time by where you're at, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and it'll tell you so many hours per day that you're on that thing.
I imagine that's very revealing, right?
So again, this is all part of that self-awareness. It's not a judgment thing. It's not a criticizing your thing, and it's also not a thing to boast that, oh no, like me, I get up early. I get up early and I still mess up stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a constant thing to build in these good habits, because that's the only way you're going to reach that change, you know, and journaling to reflect back on it.
Yeah. I think like something else that you said that's like really important is like people beating up on themselves, because I do it a lot, you know, especially when it comes to getting up early. I'm not a morning person. So I'll say there's 2 things. Number 1 is you don't necessarily have to get up early, but you have to do something that works with you. Like you have to be realistic. I'm a night person, so it's better for me to do my stuff at night as opposed to in the morning, because I'm not as effective in the morning. And so but that's not an excuse to not do it though. So mornings may not work, but then you still have to figure out, some people might do better in the middle of the day, or maybe after dinner, or, you know, like me, once everybody's in the bed, then that's when I do my stuff. But but I think it's important for you to kind of find something that works for you.
What works for you? No, that's 100% correct.
Yes, and to make progress in that, not to use it as an excuse to not do something. But even what you were saying about us beating up on ourselves, I think that's another point to make, because I have tried to like do certain things, and you know, it's like day 5 and I still haven't, you know, and it's really important that you don't beat up on yourself about it, because you know, it doesn't help. You know, you fall down, you get up, you keep going. You just have to keep pushing it. Like even for me, I might plan to do something and it's like 2 weeks and I still haven't done it. And you know, you get sick of yourself and you're like, oh my goodness, like why can't I get this? but you understand that, or for me, I can do it. I just need to buckle down. And so if I didn't do it last week, I didn't do it this week. Okay, let me try again next week. Okay, then let me try again next week. Eventually, you're going to get sick of going through this process with yourself if it's something that you're really passionate about, and then you're going to start working it in there. But you just don't give up, don't beat up on yourself, and just keep trying. Like you say, you get up early, right. Sometimes you still don't, do everything. And so you just keep, even if, like for me, sometimes I might try to do it 2 weeks and it doesn't work, I'll take a break. I'll say, okay, let me reset. The next week, I'm not going to do anything. And then let me try again the week after that. So that's another thing I wanted to kind of point out what you were saying.
Right. And that's that habit. Like I'm trying to, because, I have this conversation with people all the time to say, hey, I tried this. I say, for how long? Oh, well, about 4 or 5 months. What? I tried. No, I was doing it strong before. I said, but let me ask you this. If you say, for how long have you been doing the thing that you're trying to change? And then they go, oh, okay, so you've been doing something for 15 years. You're not going to change it in 4 months.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, very good point.
Because you might go well, and then something's going to pop up. You're going to run into some obstacles, and then we're going to fall right back to that comfort.
Yeah.
So you can't just go, okay, I created something for 15 years, and I'm going to try to fix it in 6 months.
Right.
There are no shortcuts. I tell you, there ain't no shortcuts.
Right.
Right. If you created all this debt over the last 15, 20 years, and we've all been there, I've been there, it's not going to be gone in a year because you was saving some money.
Right.
You got to change that.
I didn't eat McDonald's the last 3 weeks. Like, when?
Right. What's that habit that got you there? That's the thing you got to figure out. What am I doing? Because other than that, you're just going to get more and spend more. So
exactly.
Again, it's being consistent and aware of what you're doing and tracking that all the time. It's not like, hey, I got some good habits. I've been going good for a year. I'm done. No, for me, I look at it all the time. Like you said, oh, this didn't work. I've been doing this. I want to do that. But that's that mindset of constantly trying to grow and do better.
Yeah.
Because if you keep pushing, like you said, I think you put it in our coaching, the momentum, if you keep that momentum of trying to do better, that's where I got my, my 4 new day. It's like, hey, once tonight ends and I go to bed and I write down what I didn't do, that's okay. If God give me another day, I'm gonna get up today for new. I'm gonna push better today.
Exactly.
Do better, be better every day.
Exactly. Yeah.
And building on that habit, because now I'm just in the habit of trying to better myself. And it takes away all that guilt. Hey, I'm just trying to do better. I'm never gonna be perfect. So we need to scrap that. Yeah. Right. Scrap that idea of being perfect and just being hey, did I do better than I did yesterday? I always ask my daughter, because she's like, oh, how was today? How was this? And I said, well, how was yesterday? Was it better than yesterday? Oh, yeah, I did. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
We sit down at dinner, we got to come up with one thing we did better today.
Yeah.
Don't tell me it was a bad day.
Yeah.
Okay, but was it better than yesterday? And maybe not always it is, but just keeping that reflection.
Yeah, exactly.
Trying to do something better. One thing.
Yeah.
So that is building, it's just a habit building of just trying to be better. Yeah. Be effective.
Yeah. And I want to kind of make this last point so we can wrap up here is like, the mind and the body resist change, even the brain, the way that it's structured, and I'm not, neurologist or whatever, but the brain gets wired. So the thing that you do the most and you repeat is your brain, it goes into like your subconscious mind, and then you start doing it automatically. So just like when we drive a car, when you first start learning how to drive it, you have to have it in your conscious mind so that you can learn how to do it. But once you do it repeatedly, it now goes in your subconscious mind, which makes it on autopilot. So to take something out of autopilot and now put it back into the conscious mind to relearn it, your brain and your body has gotten used to doing something a certain way, and it's going to resist you trying to do something different. So a lot of times the resistance that we feel, some people might feel like, oh, I just can't do it, it's too hard. No, this is a normal process of rewiring your habits, rewiring your brain. And there was a lady that came to my church some years ago named Caroline Leaf. I don't know if you know who she is, but she's studies neurology, but she's also a Christian, and she talks about the brain in context of Christianity. And she says that breaking habits out of your from your brain takes, you have to do it at about 15 times. She said once you do it 15 times, then the old habit is broken and a new habit starts. And so repetition is really important in doing that. And so that's why, even though you might mess up, it's important to kind of get back on the horse and keep doing that and keep pushing against that resistance that your mind and body has to, no, we don't want to do anything different. Because the thing is that, like, we run on energy, and so our bodies is programmed to conserve energy. So when you're trying to do something different, doing something familiar requires less energy than something new. And so your body's going to resist, like, no, you're using too much energy. Let's go back to doing what we were doing before. And so you have to kind of, push past that and break those barriers down, so to speak. And then, according to Caroline Leaf, once you do that consistently 15 times, the habit is broken and a new habit can start. So I think it's like important for us to understand that sometimes this resistance is biological. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean, oh, you mess up every time. It's totally normal. And those people who are able to push past it are actually the ones that end up being successful, because most people just revert back to what is easier. And so, but it takes a different kind of strength, and I mean mental strength, to push past those things and actually cultivate new habits. So yeah.
Right. What was I saying real quick before it goes? Like, I always talk about the person that stopped 3 steps short from the goal. Like, you don't know that 3 more times of trying, that might have been your breakthrough. But we get to that 3 steps before and they go, oh, I can't do this. I'm never going to be able to, make this goal, lose this weight, write this book, stop smoking, they just go, oh, I can't do it. Never, it's all in that quitting. Do not quit, because you're absolutely right. You got to bring that up from autopilot out to the front. Revisit it.
Yeah. And anytime, in my experience, and then we can go ahead and wrap this up, anytime you start talking to absolutes, this is never going to happen. Nobody ever like me.
Oh, I love that one. we got to make an episode on when someone say they always do or they never. We can go. I want a challenge on that one. You tell me somebody that always does something.
Exactly.
I want to meet them.
Exactly. So but we'll I guess that's the end of our episode tonight. And thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you in 2 weeks when we come out with a new topic. Hopefully you learned something from this. If you have any questions or comments, please, leave them below or get in contact with us, and we'll be happy to include them in future episodes. So thanks again, and see you later. Bye.